One thing I wanted to mention regarding technology and the affordances of the classroom is that the best laid plans of mice and men and the fact that as much as I had planned these wonderful things, I think, that would truly enhance the class, that used the affordances or that being able to be in the classroom allowed me to do, or that that redesigning this class helped me think about ways to enhance my student learning outside of the classroom that I just did not have the time to do. So I'm going to give you two specific examples. One, I've mentioned how philosophy content is really the content that is most difficult for them to gain an awareness and understanding of, I think. And over the time I've taught it, and it's really pretty much standard understanding in our department from others who teach it that the philosophy piece is really challenging. And through my redesign of this course through the faculty fellowship program, I've been thinking a lot about how to get that content, how to get to that content in a way that makes sense to them. And you can see other interviews for me to talk about how I've done that before. But what I wanted to do this time around for that, one of the things I wanted to do was to create a series of podcasts where I was explaining, rather than explaining what idealism was and what realism is and what pragmatism is and how it applies to schools, which they can get from their textbook, it would be more of, well, okay, you walk into a school, here's what you see. What philosophy does that portray? So you walk into a school, schoolroom, some students are working in the corner sitting on beanbags, some students are talking with a teacher individually, some students are, one person's individually reading a book by themselves, and other students at a computer, some students are clustered around a fish tank, and what does that show? And the answer is pragmatism. And then we can talk about why is pragmatism and what that means. And that's what I wanted to do with those podcasts. And then what I found when I was using Audacity, which was the software program that was recommended to me by many, many people for creating podcasts, I was using that over the weekend to create, or a couple weeks ago, to create my podcast and to get started. It took me a lot of time to do one 6-minute podcast. I probably spent an hour and a half on my couch recording it and editing it. And that's not the figuring out what I wanted to say and writing a script, but just the recording and editing it. And Audacity was not as friendly as I wanted it to be, because I wanted to be able to just go in and do something quick and easy and clean out the ums and ahs. And if I misspoke, I can take out that piece and re-record it. And it didn't let me do that. And because of that, I can truly say that because of that, I did not have time. I just knew there was no way I was going to have time to do any more. And so it went from a podcast series to one audio recording. And I didn't do any more. And that tells me a couple things. One, that time and resources are extremely important. Knowing what software program to use and having someone to immediately say, don't use that one, use this one. The best software program that's been been told to me is GarageBand, but it's on a Mac. I don't have a Mac. And I don't have readily access to Mac at my house, which is when I was doing the podcast. So I could have, waited a couple days, but that was the time I finally had time to sit down and do my podcast on a Saturday evening after my daughter was in bed. So that was really difficult and challenging for me. And then secondly, the fact that just in general, knowing that it takes a lot of effort and time to do these innovative projects and to incorporate these innovations into a classroom, regardless of what they are, and to do it in a purposeful way. And then I also have to let go of that. That's also a struggle, as I know how successful that could have been. And it frustrates me and upsets me that I didn't get it done. But I couldn't physically get it done. So it's that balance of, well, what do you do? When do you do it? And at that point in time, I went to bed. Because I needed to sleep and be ready for class the next day. And I had papers to grade and had all these other things going on.